Death is not corruption. Death is a transference of our spirit essence, the soul, into another phase of life. Now, what I mean by spirit essence is that part of the spirit that is the heart of spirit. Spirit is a life force, but soul is that part that cannot be destroyed, that cannot be ultimately changed. It is a process of realization that brings us to feel the soul. It is not something that can be even cultivated. What we need to do is remove the strands of decay, of dust that this world and attachment to material places around the soul, and very much connected to our spirit and really a sapping of life force from the surface of our soul to see its oneness with all things. The soul is vast. It is the first thing that exists. It is the purest part of ourselves because it is an eternal part that is beyond time, is beyond change. And it is that part of God that exists in everything. Every single atom is attached to a soul, be it even material. Material goes through phases as it progresses in higher degrees of consciousness until it becomes a form of life, until it becomes a different form of energy. Now, even material is energy. It's just a slower version of energy on the spectrum that is slower. But ultimately, everything is energy and vibration. And it's all about the vibrational factor as far as the level at which something vibrates that makes it seem as something else or determines its function. The different gods that make up the one whole God, for instance, are lower vibrations than the ultimate infinite source, but they're higher vibrations than us. And something that we would consider as demons are lower vibration than us and are very much attached to certain actualizations of satisfaction of desire and relief from fear. And they're very much attached to momentary time, whereas gods are very much, well, I wouldn't say free from time, but have an understanding of it that elevates them above the necessity to live a life that is confined to something like a human lifespan. Plants in particular have a very deep connection with the earth. Animals do too, even more so than us most of the time. But plants trees are the veins, and plants are the thing that brings out the life force from the earth that continually regenerates itself. It's like the earth itself, the core of the earth is like a portal to infinity. Every planet is to a certain degree that produces the kind of consciousness, this kind of consciousness, I guess you could say wave or cloud that allows us as life forms to exist. But plants pull that up, and they create in a way that animals cannot. And animals will feed on them, then other animals will feed on those animals, and then a lot of the time we feed on the animals that that we raise, that we slaughter. Of course, not us vegetarians, but most human beings do eat meat and don't have a problem with it. Now, we as human beings, we need to first look to animals in order to connect with the earth, in order to connect with what is basically the source of all vitality, all spirit and life force on this earth, on this planet. The earth itself is what plants pull from, and then animals pull from the plants, and then other animals pull from those animals. But we work our way to the plants through the animals by understanding our relationship to the animals we feed upon and our essence as being a part of and still being animals in and of itself. And when I speak of animals, I mean that we come from them both evolutionarily and in our relationship to soul. Our souls used to be animals. Before there was man, we were part of animals. Before that, we were lesser life forms. But there is that part of our soul that remembers us being animals, that remembers that certain connection we had to the earth. So we must follow that feed back into animals. Try to see the part of ourselves that are still primal. Try to see the parts of ourselves that still feel beyond logic, beyond intellect, but have that emotional essence of connection that we most of the time don't have in human society because of our reliance on technology, because on our ideology that we are individuals, that we are not connected. Animals just assume they're connected with what is around them. They don't need to conceptualize it. They feel it. And if we can get in that mindset of feeling what it is to be that primal nature again within ourselves without losing ourselves to it, we can have that connection while still using our logic, while still using our intellect. So it's very important to try and connect with the animal kingdom, and then connect with the plant kingdom, and then the earth. But follow these strands back through our soul's journey, because we still retain those memories if we dig deep enough within ourselves through meditation, through mantra, through a lot of the time incense will help, music will help, and through rituals, through ceremonies that a lot of the time we can just make ourselves and connect to ourselves through that. And of course we can cast spells, we can do magic, and a lot of gray magic is bridging that gap between what we are now, that order side, and the, you could say, black magic, which is more the primal side, the selfish side, the short-term side. And a lot of the gray magic is dealing with that bridge between the two areas, from what we are now and what we were. At least in my opinion, what I'd call gray magic is that. Regardless, a lot of the same plants that we used to be right after we were material, they can still help us spiritually. For instance, I can burn sage or eucalyptus, and by asking that herb to basically burn in a way that helps me understand it, respecting it as a piece that is not only not dead, but still very vital to me as a person. You can connect to the grandfather, grandmother of that plant, of that animal, even if you're eating an animal. And what I mean by grandmother or grandfather, I mean the grandfather spirit or a grandmother spirit that is still very much a part of this world. That overarching spirit for a particular plant like eucalyptus, appealing to that through the eucalyptus will give you great aid, because it awakens a part in your own DNA and your own soul's memory of when you were that, and your connection to that. Even your ancestors using that eucalyptus or sage. When you draw upon that connection, then it gives you the best benefit. You feel cleansed from eucalyptus. You feel cleansed from sage. You feel cleansed from mugwort. You just need to run it along your body and kind of remind all of your cells from whence they came. But before I continue to rant, I'd like to say that death is not corruption. Death is transference. Death is temporary. It is the dividing factor between what we perceive as ourselves and what we perceive as what we were or will be. And once we understand reincarnation, like I've been talking about, or our connection to everything else, not really ending at the skin, not really ending at what we usually consider as our individual body, once we realize that, then we'll realize that death isn't something to be afraid of, and it is far from corruption. Corruption is a mutation of life. Death is what gives it significance, is what allows it to continue in a new form after the passing from one form to another. And even this passing is kind of an illusion. You can say death itself is an illusion, but at the very least, it is necessary in a transference and an aid to life. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a great day.